Welcome back to the podcast Beyond the Backlog. In this episode, we sit down with Jaco Roux, who's the head of product at Bob Group and the co-founder of uAfrica, to discuss the evolving e-commerce landscape in South Africa. Jaco shares insights into the product development space and the impact of uAfrica and Bid-or-Buy merger, and how Bob Group is shaping the future of online retail logistics. So we'll also explore the challenges and opportunities in the e-commerce space, including the rapid growth of on-demand delivery services like Checker 6060. Welcome to Beyond the Backlog, Jaco. I hope that you're well today.
Thank you very much for having me, Nikki. Doing very well. Tomorrow is a public holiday, and then my space, I usually don't know what to do with myself, but I'm sure I'll find something. But thanks for having me.
More than happy to. Oh, I think everyone's looking forward to that public holiday, I know. But Jaco, you were previously the co-founder of uAfrica. So how has your role evolved since the merger with Bid-or-Buy to form Bob Group? And what has it been like transitioning to a head of product position within this new structure?
Yeah, it feels like a long time ago. But when we founded uAfrica, we were only 5 people. Today we over 130 people. So the growth has been really, really good. But in the beginning, I was doing most of the coding myself. We didn't have big teams around us, and soon realized that there's some really good coding wizards out there that can help you with this. And I think it naturally progressed for me to move into a product development role. I understand the tech. And I think it's important to understand the tech if you want to move into a product development role. And I mean, after that, I think the big challenge for me was more having a bigger team around you and finding a balance between the different products that you develop and keep on developing them at a steady pace. But it's been a hell of a ride. I'm enjoying every second of it.
Awesome. So what does a head of product do on a day-to-day basis in an e-commerce business like Bob Group?
For me, on a day-to-day basis, the biggest challenge is to be the link between business and tech. There's usually a bit of a disconnect. Business requirements needs to be translated into a technology solution. So for me, on a day-to-day basis, spending time with every team, especially the business key players, to understand what the market wants, what's new features that's coming from customers, making sure that it is possible, making sure that it's feasible, and then implementing it. So it's understanding the problem, and then writing a spec for it, making sure that it is technically possible, and then making sure that it actually reaches the final stage of production on our platform.
Awesome. So what excites you the most about working in product management in the e-commerce space?
I get to create stuff. It's really always been a passion of mine. It's really cool if you can create stuff and you actually have customers to test it, and you can get rapid feedback and you can evolve on that. So there's not always big features. Some of it's a lot smaller, but to get the feedback and to create stuff for me is really, really cool. Another thing for me is empowering businesses. We play a lot in the SME space, and it's really cool to see small players getting up and running and empowering them to have the tech available to make their businesses thrive. I really enjoy that.
On the back of that, you're saying you're also really excited about empowering businesses and SMEs, and it seems as though Bob Group has also positioned itself as a key player in South Africa's e-commerce ecosystem. So, what problem does Bob Group solve for the merchants and customers?
Our slogan is everything e-commerce. So we try and solve all e-commerce problems with tech. Shipping and fulfillment is at our core. We started the business with that. And shipping is sort of the least sexy part of online shopping. Everybody builds their store. They get to spend on marketing. They get the customers there. They get their first order, and then they realize, I need to get this to the customer. And I think that is something that we are solving. Moving into the payment space now as well, we really see that the market will move towards more people having access to different payment gateways, and that will, I think, evolve the e-commerce market quite significantly. And then one of our new projects, Bobbox, which is a smart locker system, giving more delivery options to customers. Also, we have Bob Shop, our marketplace, and I think that covers more or less the whole ecosystem of e-commerce. But we do have plans, that nothing set in stone yet, to launch a basic store creator as well for people that just wants to get started, especially with social commerce. Just 1 or 2 or 3 products, getting up and running quick and easily, and getting the product to the customer. So I would like to say that we solve all e-commerce problems, and hopefully we can continue to do so in the future.
So you would say, obviously, that the role of technology at Bob Group is the main driving force of its success.
Yes, most definitely. I always say that we as a tech company can solve more real-world problems than a real-world company can solve tech problems. And I think it's easier to understand the problem that a real company has, and if you understand the tech and you really understand the problem, you can use tech to solve it.
So can you share any insights just into some key technologies that you believe power Bob Group's platform? Like, is it AI, cloud computing, APIs, payments, or the logistics tech side of it?
Um, I mean, being in the industry for so long, I would say the biggest win for us was cloud computing. Being able to not host servers, driving around on a Sunday, replacing hard drives, and making sure that the tech is working. So cloud computing, definitely. And in recent years, embracing serverless technologies. So not having physical servers, but actually AWS or most of the cloud platforms provide you with an interface where servers are spun up as demand increases. So you only pay for what you use. And I think that has changed the landscape quite significantly. For me as well, it enabled us to do rapid deployment. So if you make a change, or if there's a bug, or if there's any problem, you can make a change, and you can iterate through it quite quickly and get it in front of the users. And technology allows you to do that. I think another approach that we took is an API first approach, where we actually consume our own API through all our user interfaces. So if an external company integrates with us through our API, it's the actual API that we use ourselves. And every single new feature that we add first is built on the API, and then it is consumed by the front end and other interfaces. So yeah, I would say that is a challenge for us. Is we integrate with external courier partners. They might not have the same tech that we have, and there's a lot of translation that needs to happen between us and them, which always creates a challenge if we add a new external partner to our platform.
Pardon me. In a landscape where e-commerce is quite competitive, it's a competitive landscape in South Africa. How do you approach product innovation in an industry where customers' expectations are always rapidly evolving because of the fierce competition?
Mm. I would say you have to eat your own dog food. And that's what I mean with that is a lot of our staff members have their own online stores. And you actually experience being a merchant, you experience the other side, not only through your customers, but through internal communication as well. So if there's any problems, or if there's any shortfall on a feature or any new requirements, we usually get it internally first. And I think being a technology company, everybody's on the cutting edge of technology. We get that feedback quickly, and we can iterate even before customers realize that they need these features. So I think the feedback loop always needs to be quick, and you need to make quick decisions on it, decide whether you want to implement it, don't you want to implement it, and iterate through that. Another thing that we do is we usually start with a very small feature, even if it's a bigger concept, get it into the market, build the MVP, and get feedback and iterate on it. Because usually you don't understand all the requirements of a customer. You might think you do, but usually you don't. And if you can iterate quickly and make these small pivots, it makes for a less likely chance of having a big failure if you release a huge feature and people are not using it as you expect them to use it.
I love that. So, eat your own dog food. And it's awesome to hear that a lot of the staff also have, or employees all have their own little shops as well. So, can you share a product or feature that you and your team are particularly proud of, and what impact did that have on just Bob Group in general?
Good question. I would say our rates at checkout feature. It it's not easy to configure your shipments or your shipping cost when you set up a new store. And we then added a feature, a rule-based feature, where you can set based on the order value, based on what is in the cart, and then present more accurate rates at checkout. So a lot of our courier partners still operates on a suburb and postal code mentality. In South Africa, it's quite a unique challenge, because if you take like Sandton and Alexandra, they have the same postal code, but one is seen as a high-risk area and one is seen as a normal shipping zone. And to present rates to a buyer accurately so that the merchant don't lose money on shipping is very important. And I would say having the rates at checkout feature to present these accurate rates or as you configure it makes it a lot easier for customers. And I think we've solved the problem of not overcharging for shipping and not undercharging for shipping. I don't see shipping as a profit center. Nobody should make money out of shipping if you run an e-commerce store. And presenting these accurate rates makes a big difference.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the postal codes, and you said Alexandria and Sandton have the same one. And I mean, operating purely on postal code seems so outdated. But on the flip side of a feature that you're really proud of, has there been any product decisions that didn't go according to plan? And what did you learn from them?
I would say actually a subset of our rates checkout feature, we built something called dynamic rates. I don't know where we got the idea, but it sounded so amazing in our heads, where we thought we can predict rates. Because the calls to the courier companies are usually quite slow, and you need to wait for a response before you can present it. And Amazon once did a study where they found for every second that a person waits on a checkout, if the page is slow, you have the potential of losing a customer and having an abandoned cart. So speed for me was very important, and I thought we could maybe simulate the maps of the courier companies and have a combined map to sort of predict the rates that you need to present to a user. It turns out it's not that easy, and customers preferred the accuracy above the speed. So it's something I haven't solved yet. It's something that we will try and solve in the future, and I'm really adamant to solve it, but it is quite hard to do rate predictions in an ever-changing landscape. I mean, if you take some of the courier companies, they would set a high-risk area on a Friday, and then you can't adapt quick enough. So you need to rely on the actual rates from their side. So you can't say the rate that I got last Friday is the same rate that I will get this Friday, and you need to make that call.
Okay. And we mentioned earlier, the e-commerce landscape in South Africa is booming at the moment. So with the likes of like Checker 6060 setting the new standards for on-demand delivery, what is your opinion on the current state of e-commerce in South Africa, and what do you believe the challenges are that still need to be solved?
In South Africa, according to the latest figures that we have, e-commerce is only about 5% of the country's GDP. If you look at other developing markets like Brazil and India, it's closer to 10%. So I expect that we would probably double in the next few years coming. E-commerce, it's set to boom. It's amazing to see what Checker 6060 have accomplished. It's a really successful product. They're expanding on it every day. But while we were looking at on-demand, we have a few on-demand courier partners that we've implemented, and we've implemented them as a normal courier partner. But we quickly realized that it's actually the buyer that needs to decide, are they either willing to pay a premium, or are they at home to even accept the on-demand delivery? You can't let the merchant make this decision because the buyer did not sign up for it. And I think with on-demand, if you don't present it at checkout to the buyer, it seems to be just a failure. And I think that's what Checker 6060 got done really well, and implement it really well, because they give the buyer the option to select an on-demand delivery option. So I think managing the expectations for an online buyer, that an on-demand service level is available. They can pick it. They know when to expect it. But then also the merchants needs to be ready for it as well. If somebody orders from your store at 9 o'clock at night, and you present them with an on-demand, telling them that it will be delivered in an hour, but nobody's on the other end to actually pack this and give this to a driver, then it's also a failure, because you've created an expectation, you can't match the expectation, and then it just falls flat. So I think that, and more affordable delivery options. Again, pickup points like Pago and Paxi, and like our product Box is really seeing great success, because it is convenient for a user to actually pick up it closer to their workplace. And I think delivery options and affordable delivery options will play a big role. And hopefully we can play a part in that as well.
And with the challenges moving forward and the innovation that's on the horizon, how would you say you should balance, between innovation while maintaining a reliable and scalable e-commerce platform as well?
The machine never stops. It just keeps on going. And I think that's why the role of somebody in a product management position is so important. Is business will always come with endless features that they want. Some of the features might not be feasible, but a lot of them are. And if you don't take in consideration reliability and scalability, and you just add features, at some point something needs to give. And I think there needs to be a very, very good balance between those. So our scalability is usually tested around Black Friday, Cyber Monday. That's when the big peaks come. And I have to say, over the last 2 years, we didn't have any issues. Then another big spike that we saw is actually around COVID. So when COVID hit, when the lockdown was enforced, a lot of people turned to online shopping. And then with that sudden influx of new customers and new online shoppers, you could see the breakpoints quite easily. And at that stage, we did break, and we were able to focus on those areas. And after that, we've implemented something that we call retrospectives, where all the developers will get together. They will do knowledge sharing across all the products and see where they can actually make changes. Business never likes it, because it stops all feature development. But it does allow you to just do a bit of refactoring, see where the pain points are, and spending a bit of time on technical debt, which I think is very, very important. So I think it's that balance between what business wants and what tech requires.
And I know in product management as well, and I'm sure for those retrospectives, when you sit with the team, customer and merchant feedback is so important for the product. So how do you at Bob Group gather the customer and merchant feedback, and how does that shape your product roadmap?
Like I mentioned, a lot of our customers are also employees, which is really cool. So we get that feedback. But we also have a customer success team. And a big challenge is you add a new feature, nobody knows about it. And it's like putting a flag in the desert and thinking that people will just pitch up and buy from your store or use your feature. So what our customer success team does is they spend time with the customers on a daily basis. That's all they do. They just interact, asking, is there any pain points? And do you know about all the new features that we've added? And we get a lot of feedback through that as well. We also host monthly webinars where you get a lot of feedback. And then about twice a year, Cape Town and Joburg, we will do focus groups where we would invite some of our customers, some big, some small, because it's very important to get smaller and bigger customers to see where's the middle ground for a feature that you need to build. So we usually don't build a feature if a single customer asks us for it, because we're a platform, we software as a service, and we would like to service many customers on the platform. So usually in my head, I will keep track of features that has been asked for, and then determine what is the what is the urgency for it? And then you can decide from there. So, and then once you get that feedback, implementing something small and then iterate through it and grow it again with constant customer feedback. Very important, I think.
Yeah. And I know I asked you, what was a design decision that you made that didn't go according to plan, but with the customer feedback and with the evolving landscapes and you guys implementing, technical features like your own APIs and the cloud computing, but what has been the most complex technical or product challenge that you've faced, and how did you approach solving it?
So being in the logistics space, there was one unique issue that we had that required both product and education and a lot of tech, and that is surrounding volumetric mass. People don't understand physical dimensions of a product. If you send a big box of feathers, it still takes up space, and you then pay for the volumetric mass of it. And then a lot of our customers are in a hurry; they need to ship quickly. And just this week, we had a case of somebody booking a flyer bag, but actually shipped a piano. And they got a quote for 80 Rand for the piano. The courier actually rocked up, picked up the piano and shipped it. And a lot of cases, really cool, but then when that piano or any other product goes through a scanner at the courier company, it picks up the actual dimensions or the actual weight of the product. Then there might be a discrepancy between what you were quoted and what you will be invoiced at the end of the month. And we need to do these cost adjustments. And explaining that to a user that the product that you shipped was actually 10 times bigger than what you declared it to be causes, I would say, a lot of friction. It's something that people don't understand, and it takes a lot of time from our UX designers to try and communicate this through the platform, our support staff to communicate this through the platform, and then getting accurate data, because sometimes two boxes goes through a scanner together, it gets picked up as one parcel, and then you overcharge the customer. There's no way for us to know this. And I think in the future with augmented reality and with AI, we would be able to solve it. But I think currently that is a very complex problem to solve, and it's ongoing. We'll improve and we'll iterate, but it is complex.
So speaking of AI, with AI and automation disrupting many industries, how is Bob Group leveraging AI in its platform, or are you leveraging AI in your current platform or within your work environment?
Work environment, quite a lot. I think when AI just boomed, all the developers, all the engineers were quite reluctant to use it, didn't trust it. But currently it helps a lot. It speeds up the process. I also think it's dangerous if you don't understand the output that it gives you and you just trust it. So it's still important to have the underlying knowledge of it. But from a product point of view, something that we're launching now is automated package selection. When you have a large range of products, if you sell 5,000 different products, for somebody that does the fulfillment to every time select what box this fits in, takes up quite a lot of their time. So what we're doing, it's more machine learning, but starting to get to know what products I sell, what combinations of products I sell, and then what package selection should be given to you. And that will speed up the process quite a lot, and getting us closer to automating the whole shipping process. So you don't even need to select the package. You can just scan your packing slip and it gets shipped. Another thing that we are doing is most of our couriers do give us a expected delivery date back through the API when we submit the shipment to them. But these are not very accurate. So with AI, we try to do a bit of a better prediction on what the expected delivery dates will be so that we can communicate that to a customer. We've seen people are not always in a hurry to get their products if they are notified when they will get their products. So if you can over communicate if there's any delays, buyers usually are very happy with that. So the more we can do in that space to just better communicate on behalf of our merchants to when the buyer can expect the package, keeping them in the loop, the better. And I think AI can play a huge role in that. And then part of that data I can combine to create a courier performance index to actually give feedback to other courier companies or to all the courier companies to say, how do you stack up against the competition? And it's not a name and shame. It's a industry index that I have, and then just saying that you are above the index or you are below the index, and here are the areas that you can improve. Are you doing bad on collections? Are you bad on deliveries? Are you seeing a lot of lost packages? Your hijacking rate is high. And I think just providing this feedback back to our courier partners can improve the whole cycle.
I also love that you iterated the difference between AI and machine learning, because I think a lot of people get those very convoluted when they are separate things, AI and machine learning. But that's another separate discussion as to the differences. But what trends do you see in tech shaping the future of e-commerce and digital development? Apologies. I know you already mentioned cloud computing has been such a game changer, but yeah, what trends do you see that will really make a difference?
I think on the physical side, still with tech, is smart lockers and pickup solutions, to give people more options. But it's not just a locker that opens by itself. There's a lot of tech that goes into that. There's a lot of communication protocols that is very, very important. There's a lot of marriages between hardware and software that needs to work together. And I think there's huge scope for that in the future. So I think delivery options is a very big one. Then in the payment space, there's a lot of, looking at the demographics of South Africa, there's a lot of people that are don't have a credit card to buy online. They don't like doing EFTs. And the Reserve Bank, the South African Reserve Bank, recently launched something called PayShap. And PayShap is going to be groundbreaking in South Africa. It's seen great success in other developing countries like Brazil, where it now gets used more than card payments. And they're launching something called Request to Pay. And if the online store supports it and Bob Pay supports this as we roll it out, you can say that I want to pay with PayShap. I get a notification on my phone, on my banking app, and I just say approve, and the payment is done. No more card information. And I think that takes away a lot of the friction, a lot of the trust. I don't need to enter card details. It is actually through my online banking app that I trust already to just approve a payment. And that's going to change the landscape and allow more people to use online shopping. A very good example, just back to the locker solution. While we were testing our lockers, we would phone every customer to see what is their feedback, what is their experience. And we put a locker outside a security estate, and we phoned the customer to say, how was your experience? And the lady said, I'm a domestic worker inside the estate. E-commerce was never an option for me because I could not get a PIN for the driver to get into the estate. Now I can ship it to just outside the estate to a locker, and it opened up e-commerce for her. So I think solving these kind of problems is what we do, and I see that's where the trends are going. Hopefully we can stay in front of the curve and keep on innovating.
That's awesome. That's such a beautiful story, with the domestic worker now being able to access that. So, as we start coming towards the end of the podcast and just starting to taper off, but with the rise of marketplaces, social commerce, and direct to customer brands, how should businesses rethink their digital strategy with, the information that we've just spoken about, upcoming trends, various different logistic options? What would be key factors you think that businesses need to rethink in terms of their digital strategy?
People are spending more time online than ever before. Everybody's on their phone, everybody's on their computer the whole day. And just looking at my children, I mean, I even think that will be even more in the future. If I look at their screen times, I really cringe to think that you spend so much time in front of a screen. But it is the way that the world is going. Then again, if I look at my father spending less time on it and not embracing technology at the same level that my kids do, is if you don't adapt to a digital technology for any business, I think you're going to fall behind. And then maybe touching a bit on marketplaces. Marketplaces really has a very good place for online stores. It helps you to get noticed, it helps you to get sales, but it doesn't really build your brand. The marketplace owns the customer. You don't own the customer. So I think that direct to consumer relationship is very important to build over time, to build your own brand, to build your own email list. Believe it or not, email still works, although I think it's something that will die out in the next generation. Again, back to my kids, they don't like email, they don't know what email is. So things like WhatsApp and Instagram messages and Snapchat messages is the way that they communicate. So on that note, social commerce is going to play a massive role. And if you don't allow payments through social media platforms and through social commerce, just take Jaco for an example. Such a beautiful story of somebody starting to sell secondhand clothes and seeing that there's such a big market for it. So I think there's markets that we haven't even discovered yet, and you need to stay on top of that. You need to stay, you need to see what the trends is. And another example is when we launched Bobbox, we would speak to some of our merchants and say, do you want to implement Bobbox on your checkout? And they say, no, they don't want to because their customers won't use a pickup point. And then actually when they do it, they are shocked to see how many people actually do that. And I think providing your customers with options and don't be foolish in thinking that you know everything that your customer wants. Speak to your customers, get feedback from them and implement stuff that they want. I don't think everybody knows what the digital transformation will be in the future. AI is changing the landscape completely. And yeah, stay on top of the times and don't, it might sound horrible, but don't only sell to old people. Sell to young people and speak to young people. They are the future, and they will determine and they will set the standards for e-commerce in the future and for what technology is being used.
Awesome. So as mentioned, coming to closing, I just want to ask you a few fun questions. So if you could apply your product development skills to any industry outside of e-commerce, which would it be and why?
I don't really see e-commerce as an industry. I think looking at my customer base, it spans all industries. So I think regardless of what industry you will be in, e-commerce will form part of it. But outside of the online world, I really love cars and motorcycles, so it will probably be in that area, but I'll probably end up implementing e-commerce there. So I think e-commerce will always be part of my life. It was the best experience in my life to create my own online store way back when and getting my first order. And seeing how this evolves, I will probably always be in e-commerce.
What was a memorable or unexpected lesson that you've learned during the merger process and the formation of Bob Group?
Culture. I think culture is much more important than structure. If combining two companies with different structures, with different tech, and with different cultures, culture is probably the most difficult and I think the most important part. To merge tech stacks, to build new tech, to convince people to use a specific tech stack, I think is easy. But to get the culture right is very, very important. And if you don't have culture, you don't have the people, and you don't have a good working environment, and you can't create and you can't be creative, and you just cannot do cool stuff. And for me, culture is definitely a bigger challenge than what I thought it would be merging two companies. I thought all the cultures are the same, and even just spanning different cities. There's differences in cultures across different cities, and for me that was the biggest challenge. Getting everybody to share the same vision and move in the same direction and sharing the passion that we have for creating stuff.
And if you could describe the future of e-commerce in South Africa in one word, what would it be?
Sure, one word: growth. I think it's growing. I'm excited to see where it's going, but for a one word, growth.
And what's one piece of advice that you would give an aspiring product manager or entrepreneur in the e-commerce space?
don't overthink problems. Start small, break it up, solve one problem at a time. And again, I'm hammering on about it, but get feedback. If you don't have the answers, you don't always have the answers. Get feedback, start small, and iterate. Ask the question why. Understand why you need to solve a problem, but understand the problem first. And yeah, I would say that would be my biggest one, is break down a problem into small problems, solve one at a time, and move on to the next one.
And in closing, the final question, where can our audience follow you or learn more about your work?
For me, being on most of the social media platforms since they started, I was lucky enough to just get the username Jaco Roux on most platforms, which is cool.
Very good timing. I'm sure that's
Yeah.
not available now.
But in terms of what I do and product development and product management, I mostly use LinkedIn. So they're welcome to find me on LinkedIn, and follow me there or connect with me there. I try and share as much as I can there. But yeah, I would say LinkedIn is the best place to find me.
Great. Thank you so much for joining me today and joining us on Beyond the Backlog podcast. It was a really insightful conversation, and I think we're going to have a few budding, aspiring entrepreneurs or product managers in the e-commerce space. Thank you for your time, Jaco.
Nikki, thank you very, very much. I really hope so. E-commerce is booming. Everybody should be there, and loving to see where this takes us. But thank you very much for the time and the opportunity.